As your man Andrew Wood coming back to you today, we're going to be talking about Mutants and Masterminds campaign. Now, this was a game that's designed to me to not be a really long campaign. Typically, I like to run games for a year or longer, but this is my first time with the Mutants Mastermind system. So I just designed to have a smaller campaign. We might have 1, 2, maybe 4 game sessions left on this. But tonight, we had a good session. We hadn't played in a while. We missed 3 weeks. First week, one of the players was sick. Next week, a different player was sick. My 2 key players, the last 2 guys you see in the Mutants Mastermind videos, Ken Centers and Joe Hoff, each of them was sick. And with the Pellers, I'll run without the other 2 guys. With my 2 Pellers, I got to have them there to run the game. Now, then the week after that, Ken just didn't feel up to it. He was really pissed off with one of the other players, Frank, in the game. So if Frank wasn't able to show up, he's like, I don't even have the creativity to play right now. So I said, all right, so we play Cthulhu, and I showed you the board game for Cthulhu review last week. But we did play Mutants Masterminds tonight. Now, this system, it's just pretty interesting. I think I'm going to do a full review of the system. And for those of you who watch my channel, of course, I'm a big wrestling fan, so in the video right before this, my Thrift Store Finds video number 24, you can see my little tribute I did, bookend both sides of the video, beginning and end, to Macho Man Randy Savage. You want to hear me impersonate Macho Man Randy Savage, check out the video right below this. About the first minute or so, a little impersonation, a little tribute to the Macho Man. If you care to see and rate how well my impersonation was, feel free to check that video out. But I just wanted to give another speech on that to those of you that don't really watch the Thrift Store videos. But on to the Mutants Masterminds, the characters we picked up with the characters on the permafrost of northern Greenland, and it's about 4:30 in the night. The cold air is blowing into their faces, particularly the character Abraham, the ape with man-like intelligence, is picking up with his animal-like abilities. He's seeing better in the dark. He's smelling all these scents as the cold wind of the late winter wind is blowing in his face, smelling the sediment and the elements, smelling the earth buried under the permafrost, smelling the scents of reindeer and foxes and owls and other rodents and such animals that are out on the plains or buried beneath them or just faintly caught. The wind is blowing up from the south, and we go through that. The characters slowly approach it. They find these massive organic flying saucers with yellow, amber, golden light undulating with blackness undulating inside of that light. And this shape is so dark it blots out the moon and the stars from the night sky as they circle above these massive 5 alien ships. The ships of these creatures they believe to be angels, and they come upon the drilling site of LexCorp, the large drills that were breached into the permafrost. They see the large sinkhole is this large pit is the construction area, or I shouldn't say construction, but like a mining area, allegedly looking for a certain fossilized amber from prehistoric times. And then they can see where it's just kind of collapsed and fallen in on top of something else that was down there, and they get to see the door to Doomsday up close and personal. They'd only seen computer pictures and files on the computer that they took from the now dead Moon Knight, and they explored this. They see all the cranes and the bulldozers, all this different stuff, the camps, and with the company I work for, I actually have to do a little bit of logistic stuff there. I mostly do planning for the company and consulting, but I do some logistic stuff too. So it's actually kind of interesting to be able to integrate all the actual types of modular housing that a company like that might use to set up a base camp for their individuals to do this archaeological dig. And I was explaining the number of vehicles that they have, about the number of people that appear to be there. And they eventually come and they see these Nordic runes carved on the door. They see these 6 clay pots that appeared to be, and when examining them, although Abraham, who has a religion, sort of began to deduce that it looked like something that was pure and perfect for like a mummification ritual. But basically, it was sort of like something that preceded mummification, as if mummification was simply a child's attempt. That's why I explained it to him. Like, think of like a child sitting down and playing with a play set of tools, having no idea what they're for, just mimicking and aping what a adult would do. And that's what, these 6 urns with these strange symbols and sigils appear to be. And I start describing, like, this language looks a little odd, looks a little different. You see some Nordic stuff on here. You see some things that have a correlation to Egyptian hieroglyphics and to Mesopotamian writings. And when putting all that information together, he's and looking at what's down there, like the strange otherworldly chemicals that are still present in these clay urns that have been down there for just over 2,000 years, just after the death of Christ. And he's looking at these things that are down into this gateway, and the gateway itself is hell. And in this game, hell is simply the absence of all good things, a state of utter hopelessness and complete loneliness, where there is no joy. And they see the place in which the devil, who they come to now know in the form of Samantha Ellie Randolph, was entombed and imprisoned for 2,000 years after God made himself flesh and died. And in this game, as it so appears, sort of a twisted take on the book of Revelations, and it appears that the angels do not love humans, and that Satan was the advocate of humanity, a person, entity, I should say, that saw beauty and hope in humanity and loved them for that, and played the mask of all the old gods, from Zeus to Thor to Ra, wearing thousands of different masks and pretending these different identities to give images that more perfectly mirrored what humanity wanted to see, and inspiring them. And I describe, these strange suits combine like plants and fungus with bent light and certain things that appear to be strange chemical compounds that are forcing together all of these elements to basically become sort of almost like space suits, sort of mirroring bits and pieces. I said sort of imagine stuff between what you might see in a Flash Gordon comic book and in Hindu mythology or in Egyptian mythology, with these strange suits that they depicted their gods with. And I have each of the angels with different animal heads. They battle 7 angels that are working over medically experimenting on the body of Satan. They see the body of Satan, a 60 to 80 foot tall serpentine creature with, on the hands, there's these almost like little tiny needles, curved needles all over the hands. And the way the angels communicate is they'll just stab a human right in the base of the mind piece, and the needles will go through there into the human's mind. Satan, however, was possessing this girl and not in possession of his or her vehicle to be able to maneuver, manipulate. Angels are trying to figure out how Satan has built this. Satan is the greatest scientist amongst them. And essentially the way the story works is the laws of heaven have been changed as doomsday has been opened. And essentially the angels are all pieces of God, and God is dead. And the angels hate man for taking a slice of the attention and love and affection of God away from them and onto man. And now Satan does not share that idea, but has been imprisoned in hell for 2,000 years, and she's crazy. And really wanting nothing more than to have experience and excitement, and perfectly content to say, well, the world and everything is going to die, because that's what's written. That's what they always say. I will lose. Okay, well, I'm going to have a good time for these last few moments I have and get the most possibility of life I can. But then one of the player characters really inspires her and shows the beauty of mankind. She says, I really respect that, and that is why I always loved you all so very much. The hope that burns inside you, because I was in a place that had no hope, and I see that in you. Just beautiful. I used a model, Kitty Faye. You could just Google her, because I'm too lazy to try to figure out how to attach a picture on this. But Katie Faye, if you want to see the picture I use for her, I use pictures for all my people. It's Clancy Brown for Lex Luthor. They battle the angels, and the angels fight them tenaciously. And the angels have the least angels, the cherubs, they're depicted. And what I made the cherubs are, they're almost like mites. Take a mite and a gnat and breathe them together, and then take the face and twist it and make it look almost like a person's face. That's what they are. And just imagine hundreds of thousands of these things just swarming, and they're coming from every direction on the players. And the way they work is they just get into your orifices and they push into your face, and they're essentially parasites to your soul. And where I locate the soul is, right about here, that metaphysical third eye right behind the eye. So when the first guy, Roman, his character, got killed tonight, he got possessed by these things and just started doing their bidding, and Abraham just murdered him, ate his face and crushed his throat in a way with his strength that just shattered his face, and his eyes exploded outward. And so I depicted it, showing how like dozens of these things were attached to the backs of his retina and to all the muscle mass in there, and they're essentially parasiting onto his soul. And that ended up in his character being horribly murdered by one of the other characters. But he was completely possessed by these things, and the way to get him off is very, very hard. The weakness I gave angels in this game is fire, and the players didn't figure it out. I play Satan, is very fickle. She is very interested in every second, in having the most experience she can in every second, because she hated hell and she wants to have a good time, and sort of like comes off as a ditzy party girl at times, and at some points then they're like, oh, this is Satan, the wisest, most potent, most scientific mind to ever exist, the architect of society, of culture, the giver of the apple, of the fruit of knowledge. This is Prometheus. This is the trickster god who has brought progress to man and loves man because of it, and man respects for that reason. So the character is very, very interesting and very, very, very fun to play, because the way to portray the character is essentially to portray pure emotions onto things, and to have incredible amounts of knowledge, but to be fickle and sort of flippant. And sometimes she'll really help the characters, and then she'll start getting bored with them, so she'll start like just throwing out riddles or answers, or they'll ask her direct questions, and she just won't be bothered to answer that because they're not entertaining her, and they're just sort of kind of figuring out how to deal and interact with the character. But now that they've gotten the hold of the body of Satan, they're able to, and they got a hold of the body of Satan, and what they figured out, the angel's weakness is fire, and fire is the devil's thing, and that element I had essentially completely, totally owned and created by Satan, and it was something the angels just weren't able to make the bodies they brought from outside of time and space into just an element that did not exist there, so they were not able to fortify themselves against it. And the way I make the angels, they're essentially bodies composed of partially of matter and partially of energy, and largely of plant material. They're essentially their bodies that kind of look like angels, kind of a mix between like an Egyptian god and an angel, like animal heads and angelic wings. But when they have these like halos, and what they have sort of riding in the back of their head kind of looks like a Portuguese man of war, and that's the actual angel, but it radiates out this purplish blue light and has these tendrils that come down, and it'll just sort of pop out of the back of the head. And the body itself is really just all the apparatus for the creature to exist. It's ability to, I don't want to say too much because one of our players watches this, but its ability to anchor it both to this dimension and to allow it to survive in the atmospheric conditions. The reason why the angels have to possess something, and they can possess humans and such, but these bodies are vastly more powerful, and they are organic enough that they basically create them and then possess them. To present a form that is more easy to understand, yet still awe-inspiring to humans. So they actually, one of the things they did into the gate of hell, they actually were able to, the guy used telekinesis and just threw one of the angels all the way into the gate of hell, and that angel did not come out. He threw him deep down, and I described this inky darkness. I say, it's darkness. I really give a good description of it, but basically I just said, for simplicity's sake, it's darkness beyond anything you can understand, an inky blackness that you don't even really need to try to imagine, because it's vastly more than you can imagine. It is a place, this is a universe where God made light. Light is not and never was made there. So, he takes them and throws them in there, and I have the angel selling, and I'm getting up, and I'll work things out and sell them, and I start describing it. I'm going around the corner, and I'm showing the arm, and the angel, the more it gets into it, the more horrified it is, the more it's trying to fight, and it's just its arm, and the arm is coming out, and it's trying to grab, and it was real cool, because they had a contested grapple roll, and the angel, he beat the angel by 2 points on a grapple roll, and they were both up in the 30s for their rolls. So, I was so I told him, I said, well, here, you have some narrative control, and I'll cut you off when I need to. So I like to let my players have that narrative control so they can describe stuff, and they kind of know. It's working a wrestling match. I work in heel, they're working babyface. They're going to give it to them up until I cut them off, and then I'll come in and I'll describe, those additional crucial details, so that we really keep it rolling and feed off each other with the energy levels. They take one out like that. Abraham, the ape, Flux is the guy who was using the Flux or the green demon. He has the goblinoid green formula in him. His body was crippled by Magneto. Flux opens up this Hummer with his ability to control machines, and causes the Hummer to fly into him. He finds out, using a blowtorch off his belt, that the angels are extremely susceptible to this fire. They're vulnerable to it. He just cuts the thing open. He's just grappling it with his Dr. Octopus arms, and the angel, the body slides off, and the jellyfish comes out. This is the second time I've seen one. So he sees that, and then when they finally get... actually, I'll talk about this part. The yellow Hummer runs up, and Hummer's huge, so I was looking at the square. I was like, all right, so first of all, everybody make a reflex save. So it knocks some of the people down. The whole tunnel is 250 feet down, roughly. And he knocked one of the PCs and one of the angels, Captain America's character. My man Frank, his character. Mr. Jackson, which is, he's got the Captain America outfit now, took off the day of Captain America. He gets knocked down the hole. He regenerates, so he got really messed up. And one of the angels got knocked down there, knocked out of the fight, and the angels are fighting him. And then the way they have these long columns of blue flame that look really, not like lightsabers, where it's really condensed. They look really loose and kind of nebulous. And when they hit you with it, when they start doing damage, what it actually does is it starts unwriting you from existence. They just start writing you out. And I started describing it to him, and I'm starting to explain how it's working. So to Abraham, I'm you start not being able to remember your name. Think of it like this: if your name was on a loom and somebody came and just unwove everything up to the A. You're like, my name is and he's all confused and trying to sell, with his ability. And of course, when Satan finally shows up, she fucking rewrites the thing for him. And then all this, I give him this big flood of memory of all these things that he recalls that happened to him. A montage. He's reeling and selling. But the way they had 3 of them left, the way Joe's playing Flux kills him, he takes the Hummer, then he comes back, and he's basically an Ultimate style Green Goblin. They took I used some of the real heroes from Marvel and DC in this game, and Green Goblin's one of them, but Ken has the abilities to manipulate items he finds and replicate things, and they've got a hold of some of the Goblinoid green formula from Osborn, and he used it on Joe's character after Joe got completely crippled and destroyed by Magneto, and turned him into kind of like a Green Goblin, but he has wings on the back as well, and he comes with a green demon. He had this whole thing with Satan. I was like, okay, we're going to work it like that. So it's a kind of interesting deal. And he gets the yellow Hummer there, and he takes it and he busts his hand all the way through. I just get a whole movie thing where all the steel's ripping against each other, and all these sparks come up, and he busts into the gas tank, and the whole thing blows up. He blows up right in his own face. I'm like, all right, everybody make these toughness checks, make these reflex saves. Some of the guys get blown off the cliff completely. Some of them just get the fire blown up in their face and take levels of damage. And it's this huge thing. I'm talking about the orange glow of the flame. And eventually, they're able to beat the last of the angels down. The angels whooped their asses too. I mean, one of the PCs got killed. Two of them got incapped at one point. So it was a very, very tough fight. So they end up getting this 50 to 80 foot long body, the serpentine-like body of Satan, with this strange gear, and you can tell all this medical experimenting has been done on it. And I said, look inside the places where you would see organs. You see things that look more like a kaleidoscope of colors and strange, random, bizarre patterns that are affecting you. It's kind of damaging your mind looking at this stuff. This is not the sort of thing you should be looking at. You don't have the mental strength, just being a simple organic creature, to understand all this. So they're examining that, and they end up pulling Satan's body up, and they lay Satan in the fire. They'd already seen it. That had been something. Well, Satan, even with her possessed form, is able to see through all flame. This fire is the devil's thing, and Satan is. And they did seen that because I'd been building up through the story, like if you were a comic reader. I drew the whole thing like comics. I'm like, shh. I described the 2-page splashes and the small scenes, and when Joe's character gets beat down in his cripple form, and then it's we see the eye, the large yellow eye with the blood shotness running through it, and pop up, and he'll start and just going really just crazy as fuck, and just start desecrating people, which is really kind of a cool deal. Because on one hand he's like a psychic, on the other hand he flips out and he turns into a green goblin. Or the green demon, and he just starts clubbering people. So it makes for an interesting character dichotomy. So the character put the guy in the fire, and then they see something inside, moving around, and they can hear some muffled noise. It's turn me over, so they roll the 80-foot long body over. And in this game you can have tremendous strength. So even that. As hard as it might sound in some games, it's not that big a deal when you're capable of lifting 12 tons or whatever they can lift. So they see the girl. Again, you Google Katie Faye, you can see the image I'm using. Very, 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 very attractive. And they see her inside there, and she's kind of standing in the fire. And then she comes over and it's like, "Oh, you got my body back, thank you, and I appreciate that." And so the girl, the devil's possessing, goes over and vomits out this thing. So sort of try to imagine one of those little, what do they call them, snakes, where you light it up and all the ash comes out. Well, imagine that, but all this horrendous, vomitous, squirming, black, green, gold specked, blue specked, white specked, miraculous, a huge serpent, about 12 foot long, just slides out of her mouth, undulating in that form, right into the heart, where this flap is open and the flap is pulled, and then the body opens up, and you can see the sentience come into the eyes. And so it was a different thing, because I'd seen the angels these jellyfish things, but Satan is this massive black snake. So Satan's moving around in the serpentine humanoid form, stands up, has the little spikes in the back, puts them onto Samantha's head, and starts communicating. I just start describing her like a carrion head, just kind of moving, and she doesn't quite she's not quite in control of her joints and doing the things she's trying to clap, and she takes the one thing I was describing as they're asking, "Where did you come from?" And so she says, "Do you have a notebook to Abraham?" Abraham does have a notebook. He has a utility belt, so she takes that, the pen he gives her, and she says, "We are from here," and she just has a blank page, or she goes, "You're from here," and she draws this squiggly, and I'm drawing all bad, because even though it's Satan, I always find it really interesting when you have a mega powerful character and there's some things they just aren't really great at doing. It's it shows, if something's just across the board utterly baller, it's just a terrible character. When you have something that's mega baller, this thing, as far as I can tell, is the most powerful thing in existence, period, as God appears to be dead. So what else is going to be more powerful than Satan? And, Lucifer is getting her to draw just this squiggles and a thing. It's okay, well, you're here. This is what you understand as time and space and creation. And we're from here. And she just flips a page to the next one. And it's just a blank page. they're saying this is what God is, something outside of time and space and existence, and all the ideas and laws and realities you have, we don't have, and they really get over the fact that angels are sort of order personified, these things that think in utterly linear fashions, but have a numerical understanding, intelligence way beyond what the players can. And she's explaining what's the intuitive leaps you can make. It's the mental understandings, it's the creativity that you guys can bring to the table that is going to be your only chance of winning. And of course, Satan's like, well, we're just going to lose. And Satan just keeps saying that. It's not like, yeah, we're going to kick their ass. Satan's like, just over and over again, yeah, we're going to lose. Not like, repetitively, but just like in every scene, I'll just have her say it like one time, yeah, we're definitely going to lose. They always say we're going to lose. We don't win. I'm Satan. I always lose, right? And the character's like, we got to get the world. So, they're saying this large, vast conspiracy to those things that are in league with the angels beginning to unfold, and how the angels work, and how the cherubs, these minor little creatures the angels constructed in some sort of laboratory, and angels are very scientific, eons ago. And Satan's like, oh yeah, they were a bad idea. I kind of thought they were a bad idea. I guess I shouldn't have made them. And so they got to see that. And we ended the game. We're going to pick up the next game session when they're back in Los Angeles, and they're been summoned in to deal with President Luthor, and he's have a debriefing for him and drop some more bombshells on top of the characters. But that was Mutants Masterminds issue for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to check out my impersonation of Macho Man and my condolences upon his death, check out the video right below this, Thrister Finds 24 for my impersonation of him, and we'll talk about that. So thanks for watching.